own machine, because with a simple browser and internet connectivity, you can use the Python environment. All these machine learning environment will be available with your system, and you can practice on that code. If you find any difficulties, we can discuss. That is how I have planned this session. And in tomorrow's session, we will discuss some more advanced machine learning implementation using some deep learning concepts, how we can implement neural network, how we can take some problems and analyze using neural network algorithm. So tomorrow's session will be some advanced programming like Keras, TensorFlow kind of packages. But in today's class, this will be Python introduction plus traditional machine learning using the normal packages. Hope the objective is clear. With that background, let me start. Let me share my screen first. So our objective is to the first session, that is, I will first introduce the usage of Colab. You may already know, but for the convenience of this session, I will just introduce what is Colab. So Google Collaboratory, that is Colab. You can take Colab from this link, collab.research.google.com, or you just search for Colab in Google. You will get the link. There is a free online environment, cloud environment provided by Google for Python-based application. This is basically a Python notebook. So Python notebook is nothing but a integrated environment that contain both Python environment, Python interpreter, plus the whatever required. That is some notebook like application like Markdown experiments. You can write your headings, you can write your notes in the same file. So both program output and the corresponding notes can be prepared in the same environment. That is notebook. And normally it is IPython notebook. That is, IPython is an interactive cell for Python environment. And if you want to install them in your local machine, you can use a package manager called Anaconda. You can download from net. Anaconda is a popular package manager for Python. Or you can install them separately, but I recommend you to go install with some package manager like Anaconda or some other Miniconda. There are different versions available. Take the latest version of Anaconda, download it. It is around 600 MB, so it will take time. Download it, install in your machine, and then you can then you can open different notebooks on your machine. So your local machine will act as a server. Instead of that, Google Colab provides this as a cloud server. So inside the Google server, we are opening our notebook, a new notebook, and their environment will be provided by the Google. So for this purpose, we are using Google Colab. And again, this tutorial is prepared in Google Colab. You can write, that is, you can create Markdown list here. Also, you can write programs here. So you can take Colab from here, Colab. This is the ID. The advantage is that you can even share it with others. Your program file can be shared. Others can collaborate on the same project. That is collaboration. You can collaboratively work on the same project. So you can take this one. Then if you take a new file, I will take a new file, new notebook. So you can rename the file with some sample or first program something. So this is collaborative environment. This is a notebook file. Here you have to connect to some environment, connect to hosted environment, connect to local environment, whatever it is. So I will first run the program and explain how it is working. So in Python, the basic hello world program, you can write using print hello world and run it. So this is your first program written in the Colab environment. You can see the changes happened. Here the environment is connected. You are connected to an environment and the Google Colab cloud environment. If you want to select some other environment, some other servers, you can use the interface of Colab and connect the environment with some other servers. You can use some of these options here, like connect to hosted runtime or connected to local runtime. Local runtime means your server. You can connect to your local machine with this interface, or connect to hosted runtime means if you have some good server, GPU servers, you want to connect to that server because your packages are installed in that server, you can connect to that server using connect to hosted server. For this purpose, we are using again cloud server, Google's default server. So they are connected. And those are core cell. It provides two types of cells, core cell and text cell. You can see here a core cell as well as text cell. So this is a core cell in which we are writing the Python code. And the first program is just printing a message hello world. You can write the program in this core cell and click this button for executing, run button for executing, or simply you can write control enter or shift enter. Control enter means it will execute, shift enter means it will create, it will execute and create a new line, new cell. So this is how you are writing a program in Python environment. So you can run the program, you will get the output here. So in Python is an interpretive language. You may know what is interpretation and compilation. So it is an interactive programming language. You can interact with some simple instructions like this. So it will execute and give the result. So there is as it is an interactive language and interpretive language, there is no compilation actually occurs. Each line directly moves to the corresponding machine code. So we can easily write the program here. The advantage is that the writing program is very simple. If you have some concept, you can directly implement using Python. No need to worry about the syntax and semantics much further. We are taking the simple semantic structures, syntax structure. It is very easy to understand. For example, if you want to add two numbers, say a equal to 10, a equal to 10 plus 20, and you can print the value of a like this. So a will be 30. You can write simple programs like that. If you want to take two variables and find this sum, say a is equal to 10, b is equal to 20, and c is equal to a plus b, then print c, you will get the corresponding answer. So this is how you are writing a simple program to find the sum of two numbers. You can compare them with the C language program. When you are writing a C program, you have to first declare integer a comma integer b comma integer c. Then you have to assign the values. Then you have to find the sum. Then you have to print. So there are many syntactic difference between these two languages. One thing is because the C language is static language, but here it is dynamic language. The execution take place in the type checking take place in dynamic time, that is in runtime. We will add even if it is 10, a equal to 10, later in the program we can change a into some values like hello. So the type of the value, type of the variable, that depends on the value assigned to that that variable. So informally, I have introduced variables in Python. So these are variables, A, B, C are variables. This equal to 10, that means it is an assignment operator, an important operator in any programming language. A equal to 10 means the value A is assigned to 10. And here the type is dynamic. You can check the type of any variable using a command called type. So type of A is, now it is string, because after assigning A equal to hello, the type of A changed to string. Then type of say 10.4, it is float. So there are different types in the language. They represent we can identify the type using type command. Then the thing you have to notice when you are writing some program, you need to write conditions and loops. So we can check how we are writing conditions and loops in Python. So this is a very quick introduction. You can practice yourself after the session. I will give time to practice. Just listen now how we can implement some comments. Say if you want to check some condition, I'm going to check eligibility of voting, eligibility for voting. Okay, the condition is that if age is above 18, you are if age is above 18, he is eligible for voting. Otherwise, it is not. So I want to read the age equal to some value. Say I will change the value 8. First I put 18. So if as age is above or equal to 18, greater than or equal to 18, print eligible for voting. If it is not, that means else. If it is not, print not eligible. Let me check the answer. Yes, it is 18 that is eligible for voting. Then if it is 10, it's not eligible for voting. Now check the program. This is called comment in programming language. So in comment as in Python is represented by hashtag. One hash represent a comment. That means this line will not be executed by the interpreter. Second one, age equal to 10, that you already know what does this mean. It is a variable assignment. Then the condition statement is here. If this condition is true, that is the condition is represented using relational operator, that is very similar to any other programming language. If this is true, we'll put a colon. In C, we put a curly brace to start the block. Here, this colon followed by an indentation. See, the next line is written after a space. So this is called intent, and this indent identify the block the statement. This is very important. In editors like Notebook or IPython Notebook or Colab Notebook, they provide the space automatically. But if you are manually writing on some text files, you must follow standard indentation. Otherwise, it will turn into some error, compilation error, runtime error. So here it is print statement. So if this is true, after this block, we will start a new block. So this whatever written in this line. So if we are writing here some other statement, print uh, thank you, that will also part of this block. So the next block start after this indentation, that come back to the same line. So else, again a colon and block started. This we will print the another message. Say print. Okay. So, and if the condition is true, it will execute this part and skip this part. We can write one more code here. Print by. So what will be the output? If condition is true, it will execute this part and skip the else block, come to print statement. If the condition is false, it will skip the if part, execute else part, and print this one. So this line will be executed all time. The last line will be executed at all time. Either if part or else part will be executed. Okay. Now, if you have multiple conditions, like you have to compare three numbers, say a is equal to 10, you can assign like this: a comma b comma c is equal to 10 comma 5 comma 9. So what will happen? A will get 10, b will get 5, and c will get 9. And you can compare, like if a greater than b, a greater than b, greater than c, or you can simply write a greater than b, and you are combining two conditions, a greater than b and a greater than c. You can write print a is greater You can print, if you want to print the number, you can write A here. Then if you have another condition, if elif, else if, that is elif uh, say b greater than A and b greater than C, print. Don't think about the logic, I'm just writing some programs. B is greater, you can print B. And of the third condition, there is no other condition, else part is there. Print this option, else part is optional actually. Print, okay. So see this program, if so this will be executed. If this condition is true, it will take this part. If it is not true, it will check this condition. You can have multiple condition like this, and finally you can have an else block. So this is how you are writing condition, how you are representing conditions in Python. Now coming to loops, how you are representing loop. For suppose you want to write a for loop, say for I in. Before going to for loop, we can represent a normal loop using while loop. So say I is equal to 1. Then while this I is greater than 10, print I, and I equal to I plus 1. Okay. So this is a simple while loop. You will get the answer here. Sorry. While I less than 10, I plus this. So you will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9. So what is the code means? I is equal to 1. Any loop have 3 part. One is the starting, that is initialization, I equal to 1. A variable will be there, that should be initialized. Then there will be condition, looping condition. Based on this condition, the statement will be repeated. This is the statement to be repeated, like the if else case. We have a block, we started a block using colon, and there will be this portion. Then I will be incremented one by one. There will be any update operator, either increment or decrement the initial variable, in order to control the loop. So this will be work from I equal to 1 to 10, and the corresponding value will be printed. This is how we are writing a conditional loop using while in Python. Similarly, you can write unconditional loop, or you can a finite loop can be written like this. For I in, there is a function called range of 10, say range of 10, print I. The same thing will happen. This is actually a compact representation. The working is same, while I less than the both codes represents give the same result. But here it is, we are represented in a single line. For I in range of 10, we are printing the values. So this is very simple way how you are writing this code. Now we are moving to, hope you are following, and no doubt till this one. That's very simple thing, simple basic Python, and you all are familiar with this programming environment. Any doubt till? Shall I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Then let us move to some of the basic data structure available in Python. We saw there are numbers are there, that is integer, floats and all. Now we can take another important data structure in Python, how we are collecting different data. So this is called list in Python, list. This is very important because we need to collect many things into one unit. So how we can represent, right, a list in Python. Say L as a list of elements 1, say 2.5, Then you can have a string hello, and even you can have many elements like 1, 2, 3. This is also possible. So list is a collection of different Python objects. Python is an object-oriented language. Basically, it is an OOPS language. And here L, that is L is a list that contain all the different types of Python object. An empty list is represented by the square bracket, simple square bracket that represent an empty list. And we can assign elements using this way, a square bracket. Within square bracket, each each object will be separated by comma. So this is a list. You can check what is the type of L. So type of L is list, because L is a list. And if you want to take, say L is a list, if you want to take individual elements from the list, you can use the index value, say L of 0, then L of 2, L of 3, like that you can take the individual element. The interesting thing you have to note is that L of 3, that is 0, the index start from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. This entire set is one single element in the list. L of 3 is entire list, not single elements. If you want to take 2 from this list, so you have to add another index L of like this. So that will be an individual element. So you can use index to access the elements from the list. That is one point to note. Then if you want to get the number of elements in the list, you can use a function called length, len, that will give the number of elements in the list. So it have 1, 2, 3, and entire list is one element. So we have 4 elements in the list. This is length of L. And if you want to go iteratively traverse through the list, you can use a for loop. Say for item in L, list L, int item. Okay. So it will iterate through the list. For each element in the list, you will print the value. So this is how you are using list in the program. Another property of list is you can prepare sublist from the list. Like say, for example, my list A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I can say A of 1 to get single element 2. Or I can say A of 1 to 5 to get a sublist from the list. This is called splicing, string slicing, string slicing. We can get a slice of list size. So you can use 1 to 5, starting index and ending index. So you will get all the elements from 1 to 5. That is 1, index is 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you specify here n, you will get all the elements up to n minus 1. Okay, that is one thing you have to know. N equal to n minus 1. Then 1, 2, if it is 1, 2, say, if you are not specifying anything, like say, if you are taking this one, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means up to, it will start from 0. First index is not specified, so you will get all the elements from 1 to 5. Then if you are not specifying the second index, you will get the elements from 5 to last element. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you can add one more argument like 1 to 6 with 2. So it is a step value. You will get 2, then 1 skip, then 4, then 1 skip, then 6. 1, 6, 2. You can give like this. Or simply you can put A of this one. You will get entire list if not specified. Then if you are specifying like this, you will get alternative elements. And if you are using -1, this is a special property of Python. If you are specifying -1, you will get the last element. So one index start from positive value 0 to n. On the other hand, negative index start from right to left, that is -1, -2, -3. So if you are taking, if you want last three elements, you can specify like this, -3 to s last one. So you will get, or up to last three element. If you want to specify, you need elements up to last three elements, you can specify like this. And very easily say a of colon -1, this will reverse the entire list. So this property is same for strings also. Say if s as a string, hello, you can take s of uh, 1, 2, 3. That will be the value el, or you can reverse the string using this command. This will reverse your string. Okay. So if you want to check whether two strings are palindrome, you can easily check using like that. Say s is equal to Malayalam and s of s equal to s of -1, you will get a Boolean value. So Python have a special Boolean type, true and false value. Both string and its reverse are true, so it is a palindrome. Okay, this is how you can use string and list operations. And if you want to add an element to list, say a is now currently a is 1, 2, 3, 9, up to 9. If you want to add a new element, say a dot append 10. You can insert a value to the end of the value. So a is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8, 10. So new element is added. Okay. Another important data structure. I'm just briefing what is a list and what is string. Not going to the details. There are, when we are coming with some application, we will explain how we can use them. Then another dictionary is dictionary. That data structure is dictionary. You can use, say, D1 as a dictionary. This is an empty dictionary using curly braces. In list, you are using square bracket, but here using curly braces. So what is the use of dictionary? Dictionary is again a collection of Python objects, but here we are representing them using a key value pair. So order is not important here. In list, the order is important because you are accessing the number, the element using the values, the index of the list. If you want to take the first element, you are using a of 0. If you want the last element, you are using a of -1. Like that, you are using, you are keeping an order to access the element. So index is important there. But in dictionary, the index is not important. We are storing its value by a key value pair. Like in your dictionary, you have a key